yesterday was Donald once again going sort of off on a tangent, centering himself when he was asked by someone in the audience at the afternoon town hall. This one, I believe, was in Warren, Michigan. And he was asked, what are you going to do about jobs? And believe it or not, here was his answer.
Actions will you take to ensure that our jobs stay in America so we can continue to build the best cars in the world here in Michigan?
So pretty much as we've been saying, and what I want to do is I want to be able to look, your business, years ago in this area, I was honored as the Man of the Year. It was maybe 20 years ago. Oh, and the fake news heard about it. They said, it never happened, it never happened. And I didn't know who it was. It was a group that honored me as Man of the Year. The fakers back there, see the fake news? But they said, oh, and they looked, and it, you know, they said it never happened, but I said, I swear to you, it happened, it did happen. I was Man of the Year. And I came and I made a speech and I said, why do you allow them to take your car business away? Why do you allow it to happen? They're taking your business away. And I didn't know too much about it. All I know is they were taking your car industry away from you. They said it never happened. And lo and behold, somebody said, I remember the event. And then we found out and we had everything.
Okay. Absolutely nuts. There is no Man of the Year award in Michigan. And I have looked on Snopes. I've looked everywhere, even on Twitter where this appears. There's that community check and community notes. And again and again and again, he's been fact checked on this. But that's not even the point. He didn't answer the question, which was, what are you going to do to help make sure there are jobs in Michigan? And he had no answer. It was all about him. Not only that, some of you noticed in the chat how disgusting it was that he said a little hurricane. People are dying. He's not at all presidential material, even when he was. Now, let's take a look at what's really happening for people who actually know how to serve the public. Kamala Harris, who you know is right now the sitting vice president, had a press conference to talk about the hurricane right now, Hurricane Helene, which has now been, I guess, downgraded to some kind of tropical cyclone. At least that was yesterday. She spoke this morning, and she gives me great confidence in the ability of the federal government to step in and provide the support through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration or agency. And this is something that many Republicans in states that need the help have voted to defund, but she won't. So let's listen to what a real leader says about a hurricane.
Before I begin, I do want to say a few words about Hurricane Helene. I spoke this morning with our FEMA administrator, Chris Well, and President Biden and I, of course, will continue to monitor the situation closely. We have mobilized more than 1,500 federal personnel to support those communities that have been impacted. We have food, water, and generators that are ready for deployment. And we are working to restore power for millions of people who currently are experiencing outages. And I just want to stress, and for the press that is here, to those who are watching, the storm continues to be dangerous and deadly, and lives have been lost, and the risk of flooding still remains high. So I continue to urge everyone to please continue to follow guidance from your local officials until we get past this moment. So thank you all. And
Okay, so back to Donald. So Donald Trump's solution or response to job creation is to talk about how he got a non-existent Man of the Year award. But maybe he's doing better, guys, on the international front. Maybe he's, like he says, can solve the problem, the war in Ukraine in a minute. He won't tell us what his plan is. And so I want to share with you, it looks like a hostage video where Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine is meeting with Donald Trump of nowhere but Mar-a-Lago at the moment. I'm not exactly sure why they met together. I've heard several different stories. One, that Zelensky felt pressured in the event that Donald wins. Two, that Zelensky felt pressure to have this meeting because maybe Republicans would not vote for further aid. And three, that Donald felt pressured to meet with him. Who knows, but no one looks particularly happy. And Donald, well, you'll see what he says.
We also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin, and I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have. Oh, I see. Yeah, but you know, it takes two.
Did you hear that? He's standing next to Vladimir Zelensky. He says he's going to solve this. And he says, you know, we have a very good relationship with Putin. And Zelensky says in response, well, I hope you have a better relationship with us. I'm going to play that again because at the very end, Donald says it takes two to tango. Okay, let's play it one more time. It's really disgusting.
So we have a very good relationship. And I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have. Oh, I see. Yeah, but you know, it takes two to tango.
Did you hear him kind of laugh? Ha ha ha. Oh, I see. That was not, yeah, we have a good relationship with you. That is, we are going to surrender on your behalf if I become president, is what he is saying. And one last thing before Crazy Town. We've talked about Donald Trump's jobs plans, which is just to boast about a non-existent award he never received. We've heard about his plan to resolve the conflict, the war against Ukraine, by just handing whatever Putin wants over to him. And what about the border? Let's hear about that.
Yeah.
The southern border.
What's wrong with Congress then, Congressman? I mean, why can't you actually...
This is a Republican congressman.
I understand you need a willing partner on the other side, and you haven't had that. But it's frustrating to see all of these illegals coming in and the drugs flowing in and really no movement.
The problem is the Republicans, not the Democrats. We know how the Democrats are going to vote. It's too many of my Republican colleagues are unwilling to vote to secure the border.
You heard it. He's not the only one. So I just want to make that clear. And what you also know is one of the main reasons is Donald Trump did not want that resolved. He wanted the problem in place so he could complain about it and say he was going to fix it when he became president. But keep in mind, sort of the way Donald Trump wants to lead, the way a fascist, the way a strongman leads is by saying, I'm going to solve all the problems when I come to office. Then, you know, why do those problems still exist? He was here 4 years, right? And then they never really want to solve problems. They want to pit people against each other to keep it chaotic, to keep people in conflict so they can, assert this kind of authoritarian rule over people. Okay, let's do our Crazy Town. The show is not over yet. Crazy Town is not the end today. Remember, I'm going to share with you for the first time. This is the world premiere of our film Emblemata. Let's do Crazy Town first. So, Crazy Town is once again Roseanne Barr. And it's not just Roseanne Barr. It's everybody, including Tucker Carlson, who is crazy enough to think that you can let loose this kind of deranged, distorted, mentally ill kind of talk and put it back in the bottle, right? This is kind of a Pandora's box of madness. And I'm going to play for you what she had to say.
Oh, they eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man. Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
So many kids that I was in mental institutions with over the years, they are all from those cults.
That's what we've got. And they're still platforming her. It's dangerous. These are blood libels. She's crazy. I'm only laughing at it because what are you going to do other than laugh? So guys, here's where I'm going to transition to this video. I'm inviting you in to the studio of Michael Kuch, my husband. It's in Northampton, Massachusetts. and we filmed this over the summer. And this is, we kind of had a quiet launch a little bit on his YouTube, but today is actually our official premiere. And I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to listen with you and watch this with you. I'm going to put this on stage, and I'm hoping my screen share is going to work. Let's do it. And we got this. Let's go. Sharing the screen, but it doesn't want, I think I'm working on it. Give me a second, and I will have to fix this in post. I really am sorry that for some reason. Let me just see if this works now.
Where to begin?
Can you hear me now?
With emblem books. I'd seen them here and there at antiquarian book fairs, but I had no understanding.
Do you hear me now?
Together through their vast.
Do you hear the video now, though? Video?
This is what I love about making books. I never really end up where I thought.
Okay, I'm going to start at the beginning so I can edit this out. Let's do it.
Where to begin? Not with emblem books. I'd seen them here and there at antiquarian book fairs, but I had no understanding of how they fit together through their vast and important history. And this is what I love about making books. I never really end up where I thought I would. I was introduced to the all-consuming world of making artist books by my mentor, Leonard Baskin. I printed etchings for his Gehenna press over 10 years. In that time, I started my own double elephant press. Emblemata Hic Sunt Dracones, Here Are Dragons, was completed in the tail end of 2023. The book has 20 emblems. Each emblem is comprised of a large intaglio of an allegorical figure with a Latin motto, a poem about the allegory in modern life, and ornamental plates that fit together to compose a dragon that references an original emblem. In this case, it was the first emblem in the very first printed emblem book, Emblematum Liber, 1531, by Andrea Alciato. This Italian jurist who taught law in France wrote the manuscript of erudite riddles to circulate among his friends. But it was his German publisher who paired his text with woodcuts in this unauthorized first printed edition. I started out wanting to make a book of allegorical figures. My visual work often incorporates elements of symbolism. It seems to me that the human mind utilizes metaphors and symbols to process the world. Allegorical figures epitomize this use of symbolism to give an emotional aspect, a human face to abstract ideas. It was only natural that I would eventually make a book of allegorical figures. The use of allegorical figures has a long history. We can look to the Greek gods as prototypes of these figures. For example, Cronus devouring his young is a hell of an allegory for time. It seems that allegories are timeless. I am printing here the first emblem in the book. I came up with the idea of an allegorical figure of allegory itself. All the figures in the book reference art historical images. Here, allegory is in the pose of one of the fantastic skeletons from Vesalius's famous anatomy book known as the Fabrica. Of course, I put flesh on her to bring her to life. Since my project had turned into an homage to emblem books, I thought I would reference paintings, sculptures, and prints more or less from that time period. Emblem books invariably included mottos, usually in Latin. You can see here, backwards on the plate, the motto I bestowed on allegory, Semper in medias res, always in the middle of things. Typically, emblem books are comprised of three elements. First, an image composed of symbols. It might have references to mythology and to the natural world. Second, mottos, as I said, usually in Latin. And third, either poetry or prose that might elucidate the meaning behind both the image and the motto, as well as the connection between the two. Alciato's Emblemata was wildly popular. Translations spread throughout Europe, and the book was emulated extensively during the 16th and 17th centuries. I wrote poems about my allegorical figures to give them a context in modern life. I imagined Allegory standing at her writing desk in the middle of house chores. She is frustrated, trying to write, and waiting for her muse to show up. Allegory comes to the table. Where to begin? Allegory stands at her desk, quill in hand, waiting. Where was her muse? Always late. Shopping, maybe. All those children, not to blame her. Turn on the news. Always the same, but different faces. The neighborhood has changed. Maybe some coffee, a hit of pot. Now that's relaxing. Another channel. She should vacuum. The place is a mess. Come in anyway. Were you shopping? What happened to the day? How long were we talking? Will you stay for dinner? She'll whip up something. Yes, writing today. Such rubbish. Don't get me started, and good luck getting published. See you tomorrow. Fortuna is typically shown standing on a globe or a wheel to show the mercurial nature of fame and fortune. I put Fortuna in the pose of GM Bologna's Flying Mercury and had her riding on a clock with the hands as pedals. And here, a sort of chimera dragon balancing somewhat precariously on a globe. So I'm inking on a hot plate. I have the copper plate on the paper, and it's being warmed up, and it heats the ink up like butter on toast and makes it easier for the ink to go into the etched lines. I then take Tarleton and wipe the surface clean. This is a poem, etched poem for my emblem about Fortuna. And of course, the words had to be etched backwards, something that I actually have a little talent for. So I'm inking a relief etching where the surface is printed like a woodcut. Instead of scratching away the ground when the etching is being made, the ground is applied to be the positive image. The plate is bitten in a bath of ferric chloride, just like a normal etching, but then the surface, you can see I'm rolling over. And the difference between a woodcut and a relief etching is that the surface is, the background, I should say, is very shallow. And you get all these background tones that will print. The thing I love about a relief etching is you get some of the graphic qualities of a woodcut with the detail of an etching, and the gray tones in the background, unlike any other printed medium. Perhaps lithography is closest. At a certain point in the project, I decided to ornament the poems with dragons. I had already made a half-title page, which incorporated a sort of frontispiece of Leonardo's Vitruvian Man with dragonfly wings. And I just had always loved dragons. As a child of 11 and 12, I had commenced drawing dragons in pen and ink, and I loved them because no adult could question their anatomical accuracy. It occurred to me that then I could base the dragons on original emblems. These four plates together make up an image of a dragon. Their ornamentation for my poem about Fortuna. And I derived this image from an emblem in Andrea Alciato's first Paris publication of Emblematum Libellis. That book was published in 1534 with over 100 subsequent editions. The Latin motto from that emblem translates into immortality won through literary pursuits. And it depicts Triton, Neptune's trumpeter, as a sea creature surrounded by a serpent swallowing its own tail. This serpent is the ancient symbol Ouroboros and represents eternity. A herpetologist perhaps would say that the serpent is just stressed or hungry or something. The serpent swallowing its own tail suggested to me Fortuna's wheel, and I transformed the image into a dragon that encircles the poem. The word emblemata actually means mosaic pieces. I composed each of my dragons on multiple copper plates as sort of mosaic tiles in a gesture towards this meaning. Because of the internet and the digitization of early books, I could search for original emblems incorporating dragons or serpents, other creatures that I could turn into dragons, as well as allegorical references. Emblematica Online, a searchable website of websites for emblem studies from the University of Illinois, was indispensable in this task. With all these emblems at my fingertips, flipping through endless editions with all their embellishments and adaptations, it became clear to me that emblem books were always derived from previous publications. And though I often look to genres of earlier illustrated books as a kind of scaffolding or skeleton to give my artist book structure, I found that as I borrowed and reassembled emblems, I was following the exact tradition of Emblemata. I was creating not an homage, I was actually creating an emblem book in the flesh. Emblem books bridged Renaissance and humanist thought to the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment. Morality, theology, philosophy, science, and silliness were distilled into a marriage of textual riddles and puzzled symbolism. For me, my emblem book was a vessel for introspection. I wrote this poem for my wife, who is sewing the Coptic binding for the edition in her ample spare time. Patience takes practice in marriage. I married her because she could sew, and because I didn't know how. And so my love is practical, but how I love her so. Keep your rehearsed dramas, your sorrow soggy verse, your outsized kisses of cinema, your novels of romantic loss. She married me 'cause I could sow the seeds that grow in summer dirt. The tender greens will soon be cut, just in time for supper. Someday, out in the field, you'll find yourself by accident, fallen in need of stitches, and love will save your life. The final emblems of the book continue to be personal. For the allegory of time, traditionally a male figure, I turn to my dear friend, Richard Hardy.
Because I'm a retired furniture maker. I was talking to a guy yesterday at the craft fair in Paradise City, and he's a furniture maker. And I told him that I was retired, and he said, furniture makers can't retire. You still have your tools, and you've got to get up and get out and make things forever.
Time at a cafe. Time carefully folds the news, gestures to the seat across from him. I don't remember when we first met. He will share his stories, morning confections. He's elegant, still casual, not in any rush. I could really use a friend back then. I just lost Leonard. A navigator in the Air Force, he took theater classes at the college between missions to Vietnam, earned a master's. I knew him. Decades later, he worked in wood, hand tools. He made us furniture, boards with knots, rain swirling, cuts and fasteners often revealed. No need to mask the making. Time builds a friendship, a table created from conversations, the comfort of words like wood grain under the luster of tongue oil. I would watch him plan the edges, his calm approach he could not teach me. I was cool as a kid, Richard explains, lifting his cup, finger out instructing, to let time be my friend. Perhaps it began with the death of my father. I wrote a poem then before I decided to start this book. In the poem, he becomes a personification of death. I met a man. The cancer came back to eat his bones, hollow shanks of shell. Death often ambles slowly to get to know you. I didn't know him well. I knew him very well. The most affectionate of men. Adrift in a world of war and industry, I saw him last in bright shadow of hospital sheets, a whisper of himself. I will get to know him rising from his bed, drifting slowly in cloudlight, lingering. He draws close. Death, my father. I followed my father with a self-portrait as Narcissus, in a daffodil-ruffled collar in the pose of Rembrandt's woman bathing in a stream. And this is the final emblem in the book. Well, I'm pretty sure it started here, with a little work by Veronese in the Detroit Institute of Art. A painting of the muse of painting. I couldn't resist the metaphor. The muse's motto, in inception finis est. In the beginning is the end. The final dragon is derived from an emblem with the motto, tot sententiae. So many opinions. In the poem, all the muses live together as sisters. They mostly get along. And there is a key in the back to all the art and emblem references. Perhaps I've always made emblem books. Books full of images with symbols and metaphors, bound with text meant to illuminate them. Narcissus by himself. The artist scratches the surface to find the image on the page, reflection on the bone white paper. This is my self-portrait. Vanity, my only muse plucks the sheet, folds it neatly into an origami daffodil.
Like that. Mhm. And the blade is just barely showing. And cutting very thin. Shaving.
Thank you guys for your patience and for sharing this part of my life with me. And I'll be back on Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern for your regular Gen Taub Live, where we will be covering all the news from the weekend and late Sunday night. It is a big week ahead. As you know, Tuesday is the vice presidential debate, and I will be there with the Nerd Avengers on the Mary Trump Media channel with you, watching the pregame, during the debate, and after. And again, thanks for joining me. It's always great to spend this time with you.